Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit, and welcome to the third episode of Impress Me, the show where we quite literally give indie games 15 minutes of fame. And it is their job, of course, to impress. These are blind first impressions of games that I have never played before. The whole aim of the show is to give a little bit of exposure and give you a little taste of what these games are all about. This should not be taken as a review, and certainly should not be taken out of context of being the first 15 minutes of the game, which, of course, may very well suck. It's entirely possible, but first impressions do matter. Alright, I have made a couple of changes to the format. I did just mention 15 minutes. We were going with 20 before. Last episode we attempted 2 games at 20 minutes each. This time around we're going to attempt 3 games at 15 minutes. I'm still trying to find the sweet spot. And it would be nice to give more exposure to more games, and if I do 3 rather than 2, well, we can do that. And of course it makes it easier for you guys to watch instead of it being a show that's over an hour. So, let's begin, shall we, with our first game. Alright, this is Boson X by Ian McClarty and John Kearney. Looking at the screenshots, it appears to be some kind of runner game, and it may very well have some sciencey elements, as you can tell. So, the 15 minutes that Boson X will be given is going to start now. Alright. I shall be Eric, by the looks of it, and this is a thing. Okay, here we go. Alright, begin with the running. Left arrow is jump left, as you might expect. Right arrow jump right, hold for longer jumps. Alright, there we go. Okay. Alright, get the idea of that. The main character looks like it's from Flashback or another world, which is kind of neat. So we have a runner here that appears to be based probably inside some kind of energy collider, I guess? Whoa, okay, that was absolutely terrible. Let's try that one again. So it does have instant death. Worth bearing that one in mind. Now you can control the length of the jump by holding down the button for a certain period of time, and you can also mess up very, very easily. Alright. And it also seems to randomly generate parts of the level. Either that or it just starts you in different places, which are not quite as obvious. There we go. Alright, so I've got a little bit of speed going here, but we need to improve matters. Reminds me a little bit of Tempest 2000 in the way that they do the rotational kind of full pipe here. Admittedly, it's not quite the same game by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, you can control the length of the jump by holding the button down. Oh, bloody hell. But of course, one mistake is enough to send you the hell off. And I make plenty of mistakes in games like this. It's more a case of just being precise. Alright. Let's try and not suck this time, eh? It's a little different because it's about holding down the button instead of being like, here's a single jump which has a predefined length, and here's the double jump which has another length. In this case, you actually end up changing things around a little bit, and the jump mechanic does take a little bit of getting used to, although you drop fairly fast if you let go, so it's not like the jump mechanic isn't functional, it just takes some getting used to. You don't drop at maximum speed as soon as you let go of the button. So you do have to think about that. But you drop fairly rapidly, so it's reasonably easy to control your jumping ability. And I guess I didn't gain off enough speed to... well, 99.39%. I wonder if we just have to get the 100% to beat the level. I guess I didn't get enough velocity up there in order to reach my target. There we go. There we go. Fairly simplistic graphic style, as I think you can probably imagine. I don't really mind that when it comes to runners, because frankly, I think in runners it's a much better idea. Oh no! Ugh. It's a much better idea to have clarity. The last thing I want is my screen to be overly busy with things that can confuse me. This is especially true when it's instant death, which this game certainly is. There we go. Alright, that'll give us enough velocity to get over that. And I thought I actually wasn't going to make it there. Honestly, it looked like I wasn't. Okay, 61%. I assume 100% is the goal. Up we get. Are we actually going to get the speed that we need to get past that bit this time? That's the question. There we go. Oh! Excellent. I have discovered a new particle of something. So once you get to 100%, that beats the experiment, it would seem. And also apparently unlocks a bunch of other experiments. I wonder if the game has any more mechanics other than just running and gaining speed. Hard to tell if I'm progressing at this extremely slow pace. Alright. New soundtrack, though. Like that. And also a little bit of a new visual style. What's this red all about? Well, I exploded. I assume red is to slow you down. No. It seems to manipulate the blocks in front of you. Alright. That's a little bit strange. I would have expected a little tutorial to pop up and tell you about that. So if I... Oh, so yeah, if it's red, it can lower. So you gotta watch out for that. And blue is still the good old acceleration. So if I want to avoid that, I can just jump over it. So we're looking for acceleration pads at the moment. Certainly not seeing any as of yet. I do like the way that the level sort of collapses in as you go. That's quite nice. Gives an interesting feeling of speed, actually, as a direct result. I imagine it also gets around some view distance issues. Alright, I don't want this to drop down too much, do I? No! That. So when you go left and right with the jump, it will only take you one across. So that is something worth bearing in mind. If you see something over to the side and there's no immediately accessible way to get there, then don't try the jump, as it will not work at all. That takes a little bit of getting used to. So far, it is just a 2-button game. I don't know if it introduces any more mechanics further on. It's not easy, I gotta say, and I assume this is just about getting to the end of the level, because there's barely any acceleration pads at all. Okay, can I reach that? No. No, I can't. That is the place that I screwed up earlier. It's almost like there seems to be a degree of procedural generation involved in it. It's either that or I have a terrible memory. Because there's definitely bits that look very, very familiar. But it seems like it's changing things around just a little bit every time. Either that or it just has the same sequences and kind of randomizes where they come in. Which probably had something to do with it. I wonder if it really comes down to you have to hit that speed pad and you have to accelerate to 100%, otherwise you're never going to beat the level. It's simply going to keep looping. Hard to tell, really. Oh, bloody hell. It doesn't seem like you have to go on too many speed pads. Yeah, this is definitely different to last time. Yeah, you don't have to hit too many speed pads to actually get past it, whereas the first level had a bunch of speed pads. So they vary things up just a little bit there. Okay, so if I can hit 2 more, I should be fine, but... Well, I'm not fine at all. This game is actually really bloody hard. Either that or it's my own personal incompetence, which is all entirely possible. No speed pads of any kind. Well, if I remember correctly, this sequence results in a speed pad, but... It looks like you can't reach it. It looks like there needs to be one more thing in between to allow you to actually jump to that. So I'm not 100% convinced on that one. It's either that or I'm just messing up the perspective, which does honestly get slightly confusing. I think that's my own personal problem, though. It's a surprisingly striking game aesthetically, even though it's not particularly complex in terms of its visual design. Now, it's very simple flat textures. Again, reminds me very much of flashback and basic ray tracing. Or rotoscoping, actually. Ray tracing is completely the wrong term. Keep getting the two mixed up. Those kind of rotoscoped characters that you found in games like Flashback. Okay. We've got to be able to beat this, surely. It's like, in 15 minutes, I managed to beat 1 level! Well done. Really impressive. Everyone is very happy for you. But yeah, I'm almost convinced that I can't make that jump. Now, visually, it might almost help if there were track lines to indicate exactly how far you can jump. I think because I get a little bit messed up as regards to the perspective. Some of the panels look like I could easily jump to them. You must be able to make this jump. You can. Okay. I just messed it up the last time then. Alright, that's fair then. I think it's just the perspective slightly confuses me. I don't think that's necessarily the fault of the game. But sometimes I think I can jump with 1 jump and I'm actually incorrect. It was actually 2 tracks along as opposed to 1. As effectively the way that the levels are built is they're on tracks. And the left and right send you from the left track to the right track. And then of course you've got the forward button to do the big jump there as well. But the game doesn't show you exactly what tracks the panels are on. So I got slightly confused by that. But that is really my own fault. I don't think it necessarily needs obvious track markers. Oh! Come on! Come on, we don't want to mess this up. Don't want to mess this up. We need blue. We desperately, so desperately need blue. If this is how tricky the first couple of levels are, I cannot imagine. Alright. Come on. Make it. Make it. There you go. 122. So I assume you can keep going to build up even further than that, but once you've passed 100%, it does let you beat the level. And I imagine that going even further than that allows you to get on the online leaderboards. Yep, you can see there, I am 326th, so I am terrible. Alright. Radion and Graviton. We'll give Radion a little bit of a bash here, shall we? Alright, now that introduces some kind of nasty electrical field that I've got to watch out for. So, just gradually putting in new mechanics every time. Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig what it's trying to do. Very, very simple, certainly. But it does introduce a couple of interesting ideas. It reminds me of a mixture of a runner and something like Audio Surf. The sciencey aesthetic's a little bit strange. Certainly. Oh, what am I even doing? I keep forgetting that the jumps are purely linear, as opposed to saying, oh, well, if I push in both directions, it's going to angle me there. No, 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 that's not how the jumps work. Not at all. You are horribly wrong. There we go. Hold it down, hold it down. The way it does jumping is a little interesting. It's a bit different. Which is cool. Oh, 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 ah! I don't think I gained much for— No! Oh, you don't do that. I'm trying to retrain my brain not to do those kind of jumps. And I'm struggling, honestly. Because I'm not used to doing jumps that way. It goes against my gamer logic. Don't treat it that way. You've got to treat this 3D game in a 2D fashion. That's the only way you can actually master it. There we go. Get this length thing right. Press and hold at the right time, and we messed it up again. Good lord. We must get further than this. It's mostly because I just want to see what other new mechanics it introduces. Find that very interesting. I don't think there's any point in going around there, because I'm pretty sure I'm not actually building up anything. I can't even reach it from there. What am I even doing? If I fail too many times, I'm going to jump onto one of the other experiments so that I can show you one of the other new level mechanics. It's still only a 3-button game, though. It's left, right, and forward. Simple as that. You can play it with a controller, but it's just fine with a keyboard. I don't think you benefit from playing with a controller, honestly. Like I said, it's hold the button down and then release. I hate you. Alright, let's try Graviton, shall we? I'm interested to see where this goes. That, and I'd also like to listen to a little bit more of the music, which is actually quite good. Oh, that was awful. Let's try again. The levels are certainly getting a hell of a lot more visually complex, there's no doubt about that. This one's got a ton of barriers in the way. Really? How on earth? I guess you... Alright, you've just got to go that way again. Okay. That's a bit harsh. You started a fairly quick pace on this one. Oh, and you have to hit the red one. So, okay, now we have to throw away the logic that jumping on the red ones is bad, because now it's actually essential. There are no... Oh, no! What? I think I'm an idiot. I think that might have something to do with it. It's a good job I'm not involved in science. If this is what science is like, then I'm very glad I didn't study it. It's for the good of mankind. Trust me. Can I make it? Evidently not. Give it a couple more bashes here. Outside of this, though, this appears to be the only game mode. You just unlock more experiments, and then you're able to also do some leaderboard challenges against other folks that own the game. And that's really about it. It's neat for what it is, certainly, but with games like this, I always say, yeah, you know, it's got pretty neat mechanics and design, and then it always seems to come down to, well, you know, how much are you willing to pay for that? And a lot of people will say, well, I wouldn't pay any more than, you know, a couple of dollars for a game that is effectively this simple, and I wouldn't necessarily blame them for that. That's kind of their right as a consumer, isn't it? It does it fairly well, though, you got to admit. The way that the levels are designed is, or the courses, I suppose, is quite complex. And the visual design, if sparse, is striking. Although I do find it somewhat confusing as the level sort of pops into existence fairly rapidly. I don't think that's a problem with the game, though. I think that's just my own personal issue. It's my brain trying to wrap around it. You can certainly fail the levels quite quickly as well. The game doesn't really ease you in. It gives you a very basic tutorial, and then it just starts kicking your ass immediately. Which I suppose, if you happen to be the sort of person that plays a lot of runner games, you're probably pretty thankful for. There we go. I also find it interesting that in order to complete the level, you have to deliberately make the level harder for yourself, because the boost plates are, 1, essential for hitting some jumps and also beating the level, but 2, make the game harder because it increases the speed at which the level runs. That's a nice little way to escalate, I find. So they definitely thought that one through. And of course, there are some boost pads if you're feeling... Oh, that was so close as well. If you're feeling a little bit stressed out and you're trying to recenter yourself and get back on track, then you can avoid certain boost pads if you so desire. It's kind of up to you. Most of the boost pads you can just jump over, but it's gonna end up... What am I even doing now? It's gonna end up elongating the level if you do that. Alright, and that's the 15 minutes there for Boson. And of course, as you can see here, there are a couple of other courses that you can do. It's reasonably interesting, gotta admit. There doesn't seem to be much else to it. It's mostly just a runner with a ranking board. But it does what it does well. Would I play any more of it? Probably not. I'm not really into that particular genre. Although, I might do it just to try and conquer that level because it was sort of frustrating me somewhat. I think that those who are interested in ranking-based runners should probably take a look at it, because it does do a few things differently. It's based on jumping as opposed to angling yourself around a course. And that's a little bit different to the way that a lot of runners do things. And, yeah, I mean, I think the aesthetic is reasonable if sparse. Soundtrack's not too bad either. It's not the kind of game I'd spend too much time on, though. Alright, let's move on to the next game. Alright, our second game on the chopping block today will be 6180 The Moon, which is brought to you by Turtle Cream and Pokpoon Games. Obscure, somewhat. It is about the moon. In some way. I couldn't make much out, really, from the trailer. Apparently, it uses screen wrapping as a mechanic, so I'm not really 100% sure what's going on with it. Well, that's the point of the series. It's got 15 minutes to impress, and its time starts now. Alright, a new journey we shall have. Alright. Okay, that is the moon, certainly. Right. Oh, so the moon is the level. Okay. I believe this is actually developed by a small Chinese indie team. And I think it was... There was a South Korean company that helped out with it. So expect some potentially odd translation. Alright, left, right, and up. Okay. Oh, right. So the idea is that the top and the bottom of the screen are not actually borders, and you can flip between the two at will. The screen kind of wraps around. Interesting. All right. And apparently you cannot lose. I suppose you can't. There are no bottomless pits. Although it seems like you can use that mechanic to slowly increase your momentum, which is slightly Portal-esque, actually. So if I could just do that. That would work. You do have a limit to your jump. It doesn't look like you do. You can actually jump fairly high, but it is true, you do. Just want to be careful not to land on the spikes. It does say I can't die, but I don't believe it. Those are spikes. Video game logic says that spikes will kill me. I'm going to avoid them as best I can. Very relaxing ambient soundtrack, gotta admit. Also seems to be multiple ways of finding where exactly... Oh, so you can die? Okay. Just not in the way that... There we go. Just not in the way that you would expect. You can't die by falling off the screen. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Why am I doing that? It's actually a bit weird, isn't it? Because your jump is not something you can control. It has a preset height, and it's very, very high. So I suppose you would have to jump here and then fall down on the platform. That's really interesting. That's very interesting. That actually makes you rethink platforming in general. Usually it's like, well, I've got to jump over a spike. It's like, yes, but how? So it doesn't wrap from left to right, by the looks of it. So I want to get to the top here so I can screen wrap down to the bottom. That's a pretty cool subversion of standard platformer mechanics, I've got to admit. And now... Oh, that's a spike, of course. That's a checkpoint if you hadn't already noticed. But we could now go over here, then bounce down there. Go over here, then bounce down there. And then we can bounce up here. The soundtrack for this game is lovely, actually. Let me just let you listen to it. I'm gonna stop yattering on for a second. Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous, isn't it? Very, very, very simplistic visual design, obviously. But, I mean, really does it need to be any more complex than it is. Now, of course, it's asking me to jump over the spikes, which, as it turns out, is actually more difficult than it seems. I thought that maybe if I was able to run off here at the right kind of... I thought if I was maybe able to run off at the right kind of speed from the edge, it would actually take me all the way past, but it's just precisely designed in a way that won't allow you to do that. What about, however, if I jumped from here? Aha! Yeah. But that's completely different to what you would expect from a platformer. That's why it's very interesting. You've got to toss away some preconceptions as to how games like this actually work. It reminds me a bit of how Antichamber did it, but they did it from a first-person perspective. And I find that idea completely intriguing. What a clever use of such a simple idea. I didn't expect... I mean, look at the screenshots. I've got to admit, I didn't expect too much from this. It looked like a fairly dull-looking title, and I suppose you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But really, in a world where I get sent, like, 20 games with very basic aesthetics every day that promise something new when it comes to platforming, I think it's very easy to get extremely cynical. But in the case of this one, I was obviously mistaken. This is actually very interesting. I wonder how long they can keep this mechanic going on for, though. You know, the central mechanic is based on the idea that the screen wraps from top to bottom and bottom to top, and you can gain momentum that way. But the question is, exactly how many levels can you base on that, and how much creativity can you put into play with that idea without it getting boring? That's what I would like to know. But so far, you know, it's really interesting. But outside of that, it seems to be wrap from top to bottom, wrap from bottom to top, momentum-based jumping, and spikes. How many levels can you actually build based on that? I mean, I don't actually know how long this game is, I'm going to be honest. Okay, I could probably just momentum my way through all of that, couldn't I? It seems fairly likely. So if I... There is a cap on the momentum, by the way. You can't do it infinitely. But that should, if I time it correctly, now allow me... No, I was mistaken. So you can't just sit there trying to gain speed. That evidently does not work. But you can just jump over that way. There we go. The early levels taught you that your jump was actually going to get you killed if you tried to jump too far because there were spikes on the ceiling. These levels are trying to teach you, it seems, that you need to use the length of your jump in order to bypass most of these obstacles. Of course, you also have to jump from the right kind of angle. There we go. There we go. Okay, onto that. Wonder how that's gonna work. Okay, so we know that the right-hand side of the screen doesn't wrap around, so getting the angle to get onto that is gonna be a little bit tricky. Oh, okay. Cool. There's a little bit of tolerance to it. That's nice. Alright. So if I jump in this direction, I can kind of bounce off of that, and then... It's almost like the middle of the screen doesn't matter. I need to look at the bottom and the top of the screen in order to get along. And as I fall down, I've got to sort of try and wire my brain to say, look, actually, you're about to fall onto this, even though your brain is saying, no, 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 it's not there. It's actually at the top of the screen. You're fine. Basic platformer logic, but that's not actually true. Yeah, this is quite entrancing, actually. And, you know, I'm not usually big into these at all. I think I messed this up now. No, actually I didn't. I did not mess it up at all. Such a simple idea, yet so well executed. There we go. Not expensive either, thankfully. Some of the games that I showcase on this series end up being a little pricey. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest marks against them. It's like, well, yeah, the mechanics seem to work fairly well, but for the simplicity of the mechanics and the amount of content that you're getting, compared to all of the Steam sales that say, hey, you can get this AAA title for $5 this weekend. That's, I think, one of the real problems that indie titles actually have on Steam. Strangely enough, a lot of people talk about the sales culture devaluing video games, but I think that maybe they look at it in a slightly simplistic way. I think what really happens is you end up with a crossover between the weight classes. You've got the featherweight titles developed by a couple of students, and then you've got all the way up to your big AAAs that cost $500 million to develop or whatever. And yet, with Steam, there's often pricing equity between those two because of sales, and that causes a lot of consumers to, in and of themselves, devalue these smaller indie titles because they say, well, why would I pay $5 for this when I could pay $5 for, like, Darksiders 2 or whatever? And that's a real shame. In this case, this game only costs a few dollars. It is not expensive at all. And it is very interesting. But yeah, I mean... Oh, did I... Oh, I'm gonna have to go back the other way now. Yeah, I can jump up. I don't think I've got them... Do I have them? Oh, no, I could just jump up this way. Yeah, throw away conventional platforming thought. There we go. And then you realize how it works. Your logic has no place here. Or more accurately, your logic does have a place here. It's just that you have to understand the rule set of the world. I mean, the game is very logical. It's just not conventional logic. Okay, so I suppose, you know, we'd have to bounce up there. There we go. I'm glad that it doesn't have a timer. I think this would be a much more stressful experience if it did. Alright, so we can bounce up there, bounce down there, and then bounce up there. Okay, lovely. I have a feeling that those on larger screens might have a problem with this game, actually, because maybe they can't fit the whole screen in their field of view. Okay, I can probably make this. And I was mistaken, I cannot, but I assume if I don't mess it up... There we go. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Cool, and that has moved us on to the next part of the solar system. There we go. There does appear to be some sort of story to it. The Earthmen are in pain because the sun is not up. Be patient, dear. I am already traveling as fast as I can. By the way, do I notice you bald... What? Well, because the night is not ceasing, the people cut many trees to use as fuel for fire. Huh. Environmentalist messages. Interesting. Huh. It's trying to make me feel feels for an interplanetary body. It's doing a reasonable job at it, I've got to admit. Alright. Let's have a look at that. So those are the levels. Alright, we'll begin on Earth 1. They slightly changed the background color. That's disturbing. I assume we could just bounce... No. Well, if we don't mess it up. Those blocks are a little bit different. What's that all about? Are they introducing a new game mechanic? Yes, they are. These are bounce blocks. Oh, and they make very res... would you class it as res? I suppose you would. I don't know. There are several games that do the whole hit a block and it makes a musical note thing, but... Turns out it makes some notes that harmonize very well with the soundtrack in the background, which is just lovely. Yeah, this is going to be one of those very unusual cases where the sort of games that are maybe just a little bit artsy for their own good that I usually not so much dislike, I just don't find them as compelling as other people. This will be the exception where I say, actually, this is really nicely done on a mechanical level. And while the aesthetic is extremely simplistic, it's hard not to appreciate it regardless for what it offers. A very unique experience. And someone's going to tell me, yeah, there was a Flash game on Congregate or something that does that. Yeah, okay, whatever. Cool. But I've never played anything like this before, so... To me, this is certainly unique, and... Hell, even the music alone is a reason to play it. And you know what? I'm surprisingly not frustrated, even though I'm hitting spikes over and over again. Maybe that's the secret. If you played Meat Boy with Enya in the background, then suddenly it would be the most zen experience of your life. That's how it works, right? There we go, look at that. Okay, I'm starting to kind of get the idea of the bounce pads now. Well, I think it has successfully answered my question as to how long it can endure on the basis of the screen wrap idea. The answer is it can endure for quite some time, because it also throws in a couple of different mechanics along the way. I'm certainly not very good at it, but yeah, this is actually awesome. Absolutely fantastic for what it is. Come on, I want to beat this level before the timer's gone. Can't believe I've only been playing this for 13 minutes. Give or take. There we go. No. Okay, you can't just hold the right button. You can do it for the first one, and then you've got to kind of time it. No. Alright, just maintain the Zen approach. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. There we go. How satisfying. Awesome. Sweet. Alright, now we're going to hold the right mouse button. Right cursor key, anyway. There we go. Boing, 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 boing. You know, I felt that they gave you that level just as a thank you and kind of a, hey, it's okay, here's a treat after E3. That probably has something to do with it. What a surprise that E3 is the worst level. Yeah. Oh my. Okay, there we go. A little bit of care required on this. You've got to bounce on the rightmost bounce block, or you will fail. And I think you've got to keep up a little bit of momentum as well. Yeah, you do. It's actually a lot easier if you do keep that momentum up. If you don't, then you can mess up very easily. So I actually need to back off here a little bit. No, it's got to be as close to that as possible. I don't think you can even get over it if you actually start from that checkpoint. Or I'm thinking of this in the wrong way. You can't, it's a red herring. You can't get over that, but you can get over here. Maybe. That's a red herring too. Now you avoid the bounce blocks. Yes? Yeah, no? Yes, but now my brain's starting to melt. Well, no, you use the bounce blocks, but you use them from the other angle. You use the top of the bounce blocks, not the bottom. Damn. That is brilliant. That is really impressive. That's a fantastic piece of work. It's available for a few dollars on Steam. That's a really nice example of a fairly simple mechanic, extremely well executed with great level design, and also helped along by some wonderful ambient music. 6180 The Moon by Turtle Cream and Pokpung Games. Alright, let's move on to our final title. Our final game will be Fenix Rage by Green Lava Studios. This promises to be an extremely infuriating platformer involving speed and so on and so forth. And I don't know really what that is, actually. Huh. It looks like a really angry meeple from Carcassonne, but we'll give it a try. Alright. For this one, I'll actually be using a controller because it does recommend that. And the time will begin now. Alright. Well, my controller doesn't work, so that's that out of the picture. I've been having quite a few problems with my controller lately, so I suppose we're just going to instead deal with the keyboard. As much as I would love the controller to actually work. Alright, well, it gives you keyboard prompts, so who actually cares? There we go, I am an expert at this. Apparently it is possible to do that in 1 second. This involves collecting cookies. I couldn't tell you exactly why it involves collecting cookies, or indeed why those birds are so scared, but hey, never mind. Alright, well, so far so platformer, I suppose. Not really too much to say, other than the art style's quite nice. I'll give credit for that. Fairly original. Okay, that kills you. Good to know. And that kills you too. There we go. I'd assumed that was a jump pad of some description. I was clearly mistaken. Alright, well, I can't actually get up there now, so... So is it possible to actually... Oh, okay, so you can grab the cookie that way. The game does have wall jumping, so that is probably another way to get out of it. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely getting a Meat Boy with less horrendous traps kind of vibe from this at the moment. One assumes you have to collect the cookie in order to bypass the level, although that might not be true. The cookie is generally out of the way, so let's on the next level attempt to actually beat it without picking that up. See if that's possible. I assume that also kills you. Yep, okay. Just want to double check that that's not something you could bounce on or whatever. There we go. Well, I accidentally collected the cookie anyway, so never mind. There we go. I've avoided it there. Yeah, you can beat it without collecting the cookie. You just don't get the points for it. So the cookie makes you go out of the way to get it, and it makes the level slightly harder with an optional objective for the completionists. But outside of that, you could just run to the exit if you so desire. So I'm going to actually do that just so I can show you as many levels as possible before the 15 minutes are up. Although how on earth you get out of this is anyone's guess. One assumes if you fall in the pit, you die. Oh, you can triple jump. No, you can... What? You can do more than triple jump. You can actually literally just float. So what the hell's the point in the wall jumping then? I guess there really isn't one, outside of the fact that this is a little tricky to control. Alright, well, we're playing a bit of a game of Flappy Meeple here, by the looks of it. Alright, and there's also a sprint dash function. There we go. So we now have a new mechanic before I got horribly bored of it. That's always nice. I guess I'll try and grab that cookie this time. Well, now I know that you can repeatedly jump for some reason, which is highly unusual for a platformer. That helps bypass a great deal of the obstacles. Okay, so C shows you where the thing actually is if the level's too complex. Good to know. I mean, this is probably a speedrunner's dream, but to me, so far, there aren't really all that many interesting mechanics to keep me playing. It's like, well, yeah, there's jumping. Sure is jumping, and apparently no checkpoints. So it's like, okay, well, I get that. I imagine this is built for people who love speedrunning. Because if you chain the dashes together, you can actually get up a fairly ludicrous amount of speed. Although I'm messing it up horribly, as you can probably tell, but... So I imagine that's the market they're looking for, and I am not in that market at all. I do not care in any way about that idea. God damn it. It's certainly frustrating, I'll give it credit for that. Gah! I'm gonna go right back to the start of the level over and over again. It's Meat Boy levels of frustration, certainly. I mean, it's not like Meat Boy had a huge amount of different mechanics unless you were playing the different characters. But that game's strength was in its level design and its really, really tight controls. I mean, the controls for this are fairly tight, but the fact that wall sliding and wall jumping don't really seem to be that important because apparently you can just repeatedly jump. God damn it. Does mean that I'm sort of scrambling to try and find something that would differentiate this from other platformers of the same type. And I think it does have something to do with the dashing and the speedrunning element to it. I don't know if that's enough for you, though. It's certainly not enough for me, but you know that I don't really enjoy this genre too much anyway. Alright. That sets you on fire. So you do want to be careful about touching that. You can touch it a little bit, but if you touch it too much, you get set on fire. Okay. Oh, hang on a minute. So being set on fire isn't a bad thing? Oh, okay. Alright, things are starting to get interesting. So, there are elemental states in the game. So I actually want to slide down those things deliberately to set myself on fire to be able to break through the ice. That's interesting. Game didn't really... It's weird because it introduced ice in the previous level and I don't think it had any of those blocks in it. So I just thought ice was just another random part of the tile set. As it turns out, it's actually required... It's a specific obstacle which requires a specific elemental state to bypass. Alright, okay. So now I'm starting to get a little bit interested. As the game is offering something a little bit different. I did mention the art style before, but I do actually like it quite a bit. It's nicely colorful, it's got a good amount of definition to it. Good quality sprites in general, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, where's the thing? Oh, it's all the way over there. I mean, I could try and get the cookie, but... no. Frankly, no. I can't be bothered. It just extends the level a little bit too much for me. And I'm just trying to show you as much of this game as possible without being terrible. Which is, as you're well aware, something I can't really do. Because I am just god-awful at platformers. Absolutely dreadful. Oh, for Christ's sake. I would say, I do appreciate the little grind down the lava rocks and set yourself on fire via sparks visualization is quite cool. Got to admit that. That's a nice little animation. There you go. I wonder if there's any more of that in the game. I imagine they've got to do something else with the elemental aspect of it, right? Be a bit weird if they didn't. And just said, yeah, so there's, oh, for God's sake. So there's elements in the game. Like, which one? Well, we got fire. What else you got? Well, there's fire. I assume there's probably more than that. How the hell do you even... Oh, so you got... Oh, bloody hell. Jeez. They weren't kidding when they said it was hard. That's a lot of nonsense. I'm kind of glad for the infinite jumping. If we didn't have that, it would be bloody impossible. What? Oh, go to hell for that. It even gave you an achievement to taunt you. Does it get any worse than that? Does it get any more brutal? No. No, it doesn't. If you didn't see that achievement, by the way, that achievement said lol nope. What a joke. I hate this game and the people that made it. This is masochistic as hell. But I mean, otherwise it's fine, you know, the controls are fairly tight. The dash mechanic means that it leads up to some very interesting risk-reward in terms of trying to beat the best times. And you could dash a lot. I assume if you kind of got the perfect vibe on this level, you could dash at just the right kind of height, and you could bypass most of the obstacles extremely quickly. So, it seems like it's a speedrunner's paradise. For me, though, it is the worst. Like, I could not despise it anymore if I tried, I think. Alright. So now you gotta jump down there and ignite yourself again, which... Oh, no checkpoints! How cruel can you get? How goddamn cruel. Jeez. This is just like the 5th or 6th level as well. I mean, it's not very far in. I cannot imagine how brutal this game is later on. I cannot imagine. It just makes me angry thinking about it. I have too much stress in my life to put up with stuff like this. God, I'm not even paying attention anymore. This is awful. Come on. We're gonna have to turn into the Determinator here. We're gonna have to beat this level. Just as a matter of pride, more so than anything else. There we go. Okay, good. Nope. Oh, there we go. Incidentally, the controls of the keyboard are just fine, even though it recommends a controller. I don't see a problem with the keyboard controls at all. My own incompetence is not an excuse for criticizing the controls. The controls are actually just fine. The timing was right. Alright, okay. Just a couple more. It can't be that hard. So that jumps up to there. There we go. Get the timing right. No! No, no, no! Oh, god damn it. Why did they even send me this? Actually, I know exactly why they sent me this. They secretly hate me. I said something mean about them on Twitter at some point, maybe even in a past life, and now this is their bloody punishment. Oh. God damn it, this is tricky. I don't really rate the music too highly, I'm gonna say. Admittedly, that is kind of subjective, but it seems to be somewhat repetitive. I think I need pumping music, really. You gotta go Meat Boy style on something like this. That music is what keeps me going. The music in this game does not keep me going. Not at all. It's not motivational. We need the Rocky soundtrack going on right here. Okay, come on, get the timing right. There we go. Okay. Yes! Yes! Wonderful! Wonderful! 13 seconds. How do you... I died 18 times. How do you do 13 seconds on that? Jeez. That is just insanity. Probably with a liberal use of the dash having learned all of the patterns, I would imagine. But, I mean, you gotta give him credit for adding that into the game. It's something you can use to pull off some really impressive stuff if you're competent enough to do it. I mean, that was kind of cool, right? And by the way, the last time I didn't even get the cookie, so I didn't even complete the level properly. Just embarrassing. Alright, set myself on fire. Timing was not good. It looked good. It wasn't. But yeah, you can just actually do a dash all the way across there, which is, again, kind of satisfying. So, yeah, this is not for me in any way. Not at all. Like, I hate it. But it's not due to the fact that the game is badly designed, outside of the fact that it insists on not having checkpoints, but they went out of their way to create a hardcore platformer, and it's not the controls that are screwing me over, it's just incompetence on my side. And I've got to give them credit for the sprint mechanic, because it does allow some fairly ludicrous moves if you've learned the level correctly, and this seems like the kind of game that would absolutely want you to replay it and get the best time and feel awesome for doing it. I don't have the patience for that. I certainly do not in any way have the patience for that, so it's not for me. But it could be for you. It very well could be. Alright, let's try and beat this level. Get as far as we can. We've got a couple of minutes left on it, so why not? Might as well try and give it the full 15 minutes of bloody frustration. There we go. Up top, up top, up... Incidentally, you can't, if you dash and then you bump into something, then you just fall instantly, so you can't keep doing that. You've got to time it. Or you could just do that. That actually surprisingly works, but goddamn, that hurts my fingers. Wow, okay. Yeah, let's not do that. That's actually painful. There we go. Oh, we could just go under it. Yeah. That, I suppose that would be easier, wouldn't it? Ah! No! No, 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 no! No, 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 no. Yes, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, there's an optimal speed route, and then there's a I'm a pansy and I'm gonna take it safe route. And I'm taking the pansy and I will take it safe route. No doubt about that. I have no shame. None. The game is inflicting pain on me. That's its fault, not mine. Okay, slightly mine. Yes, lovely. And no, I will not get the cookie. Absolutely not. 6 seconds you can do that level in. Oh, I would actually love to see a Dust Force style replay system that would show you how other people managed to do it. That would actually, I think, be kind of great. It does not have that, though. Okay, there we go. Good, good, good. Huh, why would it let you through there? No idea. But it does, so there you go. Dash, 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 dash. No. Problem is you can kind of dash into the unknown as this, you move faster than the screen can scroll, so you've got to learn where that stuff is. But, you know, I mean, that seems optimal, yeah? Oh, cool, cool. All right. All right, we can make it, I think. We're gonna... no! Not even the slightest margin for error on that. God. It's too difficult. Oh, man, this is misery in a downloadable package. At least for me, anyway. I can see a great deal of people that might dig it, though. A lot. And I wouldn't blame them in any way for that. That seems reasonable. No, come on. This is hardly a Zen game like the previous one. This is the polar opposite, or one might say the lunar opposite of that. Just punishingly difficult. Good lord. Really difficult. Alright, okay, thank God! The timer! Oh, alright, yeah, that one is not for me. Not at all. That is just scary. But I think you'll probably be able to figure out quite nicely if you like that, just based on watching that gameplay, regardless of how incompetent it actually was. Oh, that is really, really challenging. Controls feel good, though. I don't really have a complaint about the controls, and the level design is fiendish, so there you go. Alright, folks, that wraps me up for today's episode of Impress Me. Thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to the devs who sent the code for these games. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.